Footprint Service Core is the product we're going to be talking about today. For those who aren't aware what Footprints is, the part that we're kind of delving into is the service core aspect. So ITSM, the utility that your end users would use to enter their service desk tickets. So having said that, it is 100% browser-based technology. All they're opening up is their browser of choice. In my demonstration, I think I've got IE down there, Google and Chrome. If you want to use Safari, those are all viable browsers to access the console. You'll notice there as well ITIL compatible. So ITIL version 2, version 3, what you'll notice there are the ITIL processes, incident management, problem management, change management, release management. Those are all processes that you can funnel through Service Core. Data integration, and so really with respect to the CMDB for what we're talking about today, you're going to be able to import data. There is an integration tool that's included with the solution to allow you to connect to those data sources and bring that data in. Calendaring comes in play when we start talking about changes, so I can see very quickly what we've stood up on the calendar, make sure I'm not stepping on or conflicting with other changes or releases that we have scheduled in the environment. Second to the bottom there, we're talking about process automation. So one of the nice features with Service Core is the ability to, it comes out of the box with some automation or some workflow processes built in, but they're very easy to customize, make them specific to your environment, add additional ones, so we'll step through and look at that. And it is completely GUI-based, so it makes it very easy to follow. And then the last thing talks about the multiple workspaces. And so again, with respect to Service Core, there's if I'm using Service Core to house many of those processes, it could be that I have them separated, i.e. HR is using this tool, but their processes are completely separate from IT. So you can maintain that silo, if you will, or you can have those workspaces share data so that they are not completely separate. So they can be separate or they can be combined. You have the option. Okay, what does it include? Service Core. So again, there's several icons listed there. Sometimes people ask, is it pink verified? So the answer to that is yes. The two modules we're going to talk about today are the change management there in the middle and the configuration management database. But understand Service Core has many more modules that are available to you. It's just a matter of standing those up and doing your configurations. Okay. And then one last one before we go into the demonstration. Here we're really talking about change management in this first 30 minutes. So I'll walk through creating a change, kind of show from an administrative perspective if you needed to make any modifications, let's say to that change form, how easy that is to do, makes it pretty quick and nimble. Okay, and then of course with the calendar, I alluded to this before, being able to see if you're going to have any collisions, so you schedule those changes accordingly. All right, so here let me go out into my desktop. And I've just logged into the Footprint Service Core console. I did come in as this technician. And what I'm going to do is just walk through, again, creating a request for change. Now, the view that we're looking at, I've just kind of scoped this down. So I alluded to this before. You can have the multiple workspaces, or you can include those items that would be in the separate workspaces into one. So for my ITSM, I've got there, you can see problems, any of my HR requests, my change requests, my service requests, facilities, etc. So here I'm looking inside of that workspace only at my change requests. Okay, and I've got, we could say 2 pages, 25 per page. So, of course, we could look at one of those, but we'll just walk through and create a new one. So here at the top, I'm just doing the new change request. And one of the nice things as well, you can create templates. So as time goes on, and let's say you're going to do an application upgrade or an application installation into the environment, and that's going to be a change, you can create a template where it's going to fill in a lot of these fields on this change form for you. And so when you see these templates, essentially that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to opt for that upgrade. So if we've gotten a lot of issues around a particular application and I know I need to go and perhaps do an upgrade on that application, what I can do is come in, create the change record. With this template, it's going to, like I alluded to, fill in a lot of those fields for me, so I can see there the description, the change type, the status, impact, urgency, etc. Those are all filled in from my template. Now, anytime you see one of these drop-down boxes, if I wanted to add additional types there, that's what I'm doing from that administrative console. So that's what I'll show you when we break out of looking at this from the technician perspective. All right, so here, let me just do a quick save. And what you're noticing on the left are a lot of the fields, if you will, or the hives that have the fields that I'm going to need to fill in. So, for example, when it's saying the RFC information, I can see here the number, description, etc. When I skip down to the categorization, I can see my template has filled in for me that that's an enterprise application. If I wanted to fill in the other data points, I could, but it's not required. So if I have the asterisk on a field, that's required. So there again, that's going to be a way that the administrator can request that whoever's entering the change put in these valid data points. Okay? So here I know we've got one. I need to schedule this in the environment. So what I can do quickly is head over to the calendar, and I've opted to look at this for the month. And I can see, of course, today we're on the August the 5th, but at this point I can see quickly what other changes or releases are configured in the environment. So again, I plan this one accordingly. I don't step on any toes. I can see we have a blackout there from the 15th through the 17th because we're upgrading our service core. So of course I wouldn't want to do this change on that date. But again, the calendar is a quick way so you can see for your workspaces what's scheduled, so you're making an informed decision on when you want to schedule that change. And of course, if you wanted to create, do your change from here, you could do that. But a lot of times, the rule or the best practice, when I hit that change, of course, it has to go through the necessary approvals. And then once I've gotten those approvals, then I can land it on the calendar, etc. Okay. So here, when we head back to that RFC, I can go ahead and then put in my scheduled date. So this knocked this one down to the end of the month. I'll just put on the 28th. And I'm showing two different fields here. So this was just a drop down, and it was only showing me dates. You'll notice here my actual start date, I've given it a time as well. And so what you'll be able to do, again, this is kind of with the customization of this form, you can get very granular on what you want entered for a particular change record. All right, so there, if I were to put, as an example, the 28th, then I have the ability to put in that time as well. But this will be done, of course, by the implementer, not the person creating this RFC. Okay, so there again, these fields that we're looking at along the left-hand side, you get to decide what you want to be there. Here I've got I had a backout plan. You may want to enforce a rollout plan so that that data is also stored in the change record. So there again, it's just a simple modification of the form. I'll show a couple other things here. I'm looking at the link tickets, and so this, too, was in my template, but what I'm saying essentially is when we need to do an application installation, then there are a couple other, we'll call them incidents here, tickets, that I may want to assign to someone else to verify. So I can see there, I've got that parent ticket or RFC, but kind of as children tickets, I've also created two that are going off to different people, again, that need to be verified and closed before we can close this parent ticket. Just additional work, but still tied to that application upgrade. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is switch quickly into the administrative view so we can see a couple of administrative things like that workflow, the business rules, and some of the analytics or the reports that we can generate from our changes. So here I'm just going to switch into administration, and I'm going to hit back into my RS-ITSM workspace. And so over here on the right, again, are all the record definitions that I've created. The one we're concerned with right now is this change request. So when I go into the change request, you're going to notice along the left-hand side, I've got those business rules, I've got the workflow processes, the quick templates that we just utilized. Those are all stored there as well. On the right-hand side are my forms. So if I have agents that I'm walking around with their handheld devices, well, with that agent mobile, I'm able to craft them a form that's going to fit nicely in the mobile aspect. If they are, let's say, sitting at their laptop like that I am now, then I have an agent web form that they're going to use. And if I were allowing my customers to enter changes, then I could as well build them a form, which is probably much more condensed than what I'm showing my agents or my technicians. So let's go ahead and look at this agent web. And what we're going to see is something very similar to what we saw when I was entering that request for change. So over here on the left, again, are those different categories. I'm saying categories of different hives that I need to enter data for. I said before, it's very easy to customize this form or change maybe some of the data that's there. So, for example, if we look at this urgency, this is a drop-down form control that I've put on this, but if I want to go through and make a couple of changes to it, use a simple highlight. I'm going to click the edit over here on the left, and here I can see the additional choices that I can add. So I've got critical, high, low, medium, maybe we say important. And I'm going to add that choice. So now it, too, is going to be available as a drop-down when my agents or my technicians go to enter a change and if they want to, again, change that urgency. Now, one of the other things, I won't do it in the demonstration, but whenever you start to make changes to a form or modifications, you do have to go back and publish that workspace. But I have other colleagues that are using this environment right now, so I won't disrupt them by doing the publish. Okay, so here let's head back to that form. And if we wanted to just, let's say, add another control, I'm just going to open the box here on the left, and you can see what you're able to select from. So maybe I was going to do another drop-down box. It's just a simple drag it. Let's put it, we could put it here. And so what I'm doing is just dropping it. You'll notice it's saying drop down. So if I were to say something like color, it's changing it automatically there for me on the right. And then what am I going to bind this to? So I can choose from my existing fields, or I can create a new one. So if we just say new field, and we'll say something like color, and then again we're going to give it our choices. So I'll just add the one for now. Okay, so I've got it there. I'm going to hit save, and now I've essentially modified the form. And when we do that publish, and when my technicians come out, then that would be available for them. Okay, so we won't save any of the changes. Go ahead and take this out for now. But that's essentially how you would do it. And again, you have many of your controls available here on the left, kind of the difference between that, the date and the date time. Kind of showed that in that actual form, they're just fields that you can simply drag and drop down to the form. Okay, so once we've done that, let's head back to the actual change request. And what I want to look at are a couple of the business rules and workflow processes. And so with let's go ahead and hit these. You're going to get a good amount of these out of the box. But what this allows you to do, sometimes it's a good rule of thumb to not allow the agent to set what that priority is. So I may have them fill in the impact, and I'm looking at impact and urgency equals that priority. And so that business rule would allow me to set that. So there I'm looking if it's a medium impact and a medium priority, urgency, then I'm going to set that priority as a 3. But again, those are some of the things that you can start to allow the business rules to take care of for you versus the necessity for your technicians to try to come up with what that priority is. And it could be as well that it's based upon whatever that business service is. So in other words, when they're doing upgrades to the infrastructure, that's going to carry a higher priority. So then I'm starting to look at multiple things, maybe the services that are, again, are attached to a particular request for change.